All right, boom. All right. You heard that? Recording in progress.
Yep. First episode in James and James. Here we go. Hello, Derek.
Technically, what's up, James? Technically, the second episode. Because that first episode we did maybe a good 30 minutes and then realized we had not recorded it all. So yeah, but yeah, man. So we got
and it was about a month ago.
And it's hard out here. It's really hard out here. Folks have no idea. It's folks that make it doing things like this. They really sacrifice. They have to make sure they have enough time to do it. So, we'll definitely get there. Man, well, but how you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, we're both married with children.
That's true. Married with children. So how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm sleepy, like you. You got a little baggy on the underneath the eyes.
I stayed up. I stayed up to about 2:30, almost 3 last night. Partially working
playing
on
video games, all right?
Paper. No, partially working on a paper. And then I will admit the last 40 minutes, I watched Amazon Prime, watched a documentary.
What were you watching?
It was a documentary about the culture of New Orleans, the second line. And I just love the eccentricities of their culture. So it's just I just watched them dancing, and just the mindset that goes into them dancing is really, it's called it was called well, anyway, when I think about it, I'll let our audience know because it's definitely worth watching. It starts with a B, but it's just interesting because their dancing actually really reflects just like a freedom, and they do it, for funerals as a celebration of a homegoing. And a lot of them just do it and they feel like it's a spiritual connection that they have when they do it. Kind of reminds me of myself when I used to dance at the clubs and things back in the day before I had a full family. Yeah, used to.
Yeah, I think we went out one night, if I remember correctly.
You might remember that. Yeah, I used to shake a little
I think
leg.
It was the Twisted Monkey. Was that where we went?
It sounds like that. Might have been
over on the Northern Boulevard.
That was a long time ago. Yeah, it was like something like that. But me and you, we've had.
Didn't I get baptized the next day? Was that the time?
No, that wasn't the time.
Oh, okay. All right.
That wasn't the time. Yeah, no, the time that you got baptized the next day. Yeah, when you came in early that morning or late that night. There was if I was a betting man, I would not have betted that you'd be able to get up and go get baptized. That's why I missed your baptism. We had been planning my attendance, but I knew you got up, man. Yep, you got up to get baptized like Tyson Fury got up from that knockout punch in that first Wilder fight. Everybody thought he was out. He was down, and he just rose like Lazarus just rose. That was you getting up to get baptized.
I will tell you, the water was cold, so I was definitely awake after it was all said and done.
Oh boy, it was definitely the Lord that led you there, that brought you there that day. Yeah, I bet. It was just time.
Well, we've known each other now for over a decade. Is that about right?
Man, just about there. 2012, early 2000, May 2012. So going on 10 years.
Yeah. Sure, it wasn't longer than that.
Wait a minute. You're right. It was
2010.
May 2011. So just over a decade.
Right.
Yeah, May 2011. Right. You're right.
Because I remember meeting you. It was Billy Bob's birthday. At Cinco de
Mayo. The little place on Vaughn Road, jalapenos.
Yep.
That was interesting. A little crowded place, crowded. Nice little spot. It's always nice to know somebody when you go to places like that.
Yeah. Also too, back then it was probably like a crowd of like 50 or 100 people all gathered together in one place at one time.
Yeah,
And,
those.
compared to now,
Oh yeah,
you
right.
can't imagine that happening
Man,
right
those
now.
were the days. You remember we used to go to the spot off of Fairview. What was the name of that night spot? Well, they used to have a live band a lot of times. It's got a number in the name or something on Fairview.
Oh, 1048.
1048.
Yep.
1048. Man, is that still there?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
That
Well,
place isn't going to go anywhere. It's got
well,
the college like right, like literally
that's
within
true.
walking
That's true.
distance of it. It's
Well,
not going anywhere.
talk about crowds. That
Mhm.
little small place used to be crowded, man.
Yeah,
Standing room only. But I think it's just something nostalgic about that, you know, can only stand, no sitting. So hey.
that's right. And everybody had to get around, talk to each other, drinks in
Exactly,
hand,
exactly. That's where the
just
magic
people
happens.
interacting, communicating with each
Yeah.
other.
Wasting your beer, you know, trying to get the bartender's attention. All of
Yep.
that, man, builds
Yep.
character.
It builds character. It builds your social interaction skills. People being able to, and with this, how we kind of operate today, at least the youth, I hope that they're able to kind of build the social skills in
Yeah.
spite of having to interact now through, you know, as a teacher, you're being, as an educator, you're seeing students being forced to learn through Zoom and those types of environments,
Right.
and then kind of transition back to school. And then this Delta variant starting to kind of build up steam, and now they're going to have to transition back out of that back onto screen time.
Right.
How's that helping? How's that affecting their overall mental health?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. And by the way, I think I know we were at 5 middle school. I think we're at 8 schools closing now, something like that. Pike Road, Park Crossing being the first high school in the area now that I
Mhm.
know of that's closing, but we had a slew of middle schools that closed. But yeah, I think I definitely have listened to some counselors over the last year who have high school and middle school counselors who have shared that it's definitely had a detrimental effect on the students, just being away from their friends and the social
Yeah.
life. And one of the things that I think about as a teacher, I really I don't want to go back virtual because
Most teachers don't.
yeah,
That's the
I
general
mean,
consensus. Yeah.
you know, and the interesting part about that for me is like we know when we go virtual, we just lose kids. It's too hard to keep their attention when they're virtual. They need that personal one-on-one touch. They need that support system. And a lot of them, when they don't have that, they kind of fall by the wayside because they don't have
Right.
that kind of support
Right.
where they're from.
Right.
So, man, there's so many things to be said for how COVID has really affected our society. But um, I just hope that we can take the proper precautions and continue to get better at implementing protocols so that we can hopefully at least see an end to this pandemic. The strands, the COVID is gonna be here, but at least if
Yeah.
we can get a hold of it, it won't be proliferating, through society and affecting so
Yeah.
many people. We can
Right.
we can
Right.
keep it at bay like like the flu for the most part, something like that, where it's
Right.
not affecting so many people.
Well, the other side of that too, I think it's also people taking personal responsibility to take care of
Yeah.
their personal health. I mean,
Right.
living in America, we are one of the wealthiest nations in the world, if not the wealthiest. And so, if you look at health statistics and stuff, and by no means I'm a health expert, my wife is a nurse, so I
That makes
piggyback
you
off her
one a little
knowledge.
bit. Yeah.
I piggyback off her knowledge. Yeah, not there's not a Dr. James. No, I just work in the financial services industry. I just know about numbers.
You're the
But
numbers doctor.
but yeah, right. But if you look at people that have and there is a movement towards better health, but there's chronic cases of obesity, comorbidities, underlying health issues that, it's this virus is just like the final tip that breaks it, for people that are at risk. Unfortunately, a good friend of mine, his boss of a local computer store, he passed away. And he went in because he had COVID, but he had other underlying health conditions. He was on dialysis. And so, it's important for us to try to make a more concerted effort for our personal health. That's one thing we can control. We cannot control what our local governments or national governments are going to mandate, but one thing we can control is doing the things that are right for those that are within our sphere of influence, within our local bubble, within our household. Right. And then also personally just taking that little extra effort for exercise to kind of maintain what health we do have, especially at my age.
James, yeah, you're not that old, but you're right. We are kind of approaching or around middle age, and it is important, especially now, for us to make sure we're giving ourselves the best opportunity to survive,
right,
during this time. Now, I have not followed closely the Delta variant, but what I've heard is that it actually affects young people just as much as older folks. So
and that's the scary thing about this virus, is that the cases of younger people, children, in fact, getting it is rising. So
interesting. So okay, well, I'm gonna I have to look into that a little bit more. But what else we got on the docket today? We got football season.
Well, this is our second episode, so it's wherever it's going. I'm just glad that we're doing this. This is when I tossed this idea your way, you were like, okay, James.
I wasn't totally sold, but I said, this is a friend of mine. He's got this idea. I'll give it a try. But I don't think at the time it was hard because I didn't see where the time would fit in for it. So but fortunately, with I think we figured that it's gonna be early Saturday mornings.
Early Saturday morning, or however what way we can fit it in. But at the end of the day, this is just a conversation between you and me, and it's about life. It's about bringing in our friends or whoever wants to be a part of this conversation. And I've got some names of some great people that I'd love to have on this podcast, and just to be able to share. And just for anyone that's listening that gets confused, I'm James. He's Derek James. So
that's James right. James and James. So we got football. Football actually is coming up. A lot of not the major games, but a big time for a lot of football fans, because their teams get to
I thought Alabama was playing tonight.
They are playing, but I think they play, some, small school or something like that.
I thought they were playing Miami.
So that's how much I'm out of the loop. As you say that, my brain is like, I think I remember hearing something like that a month ago. I think you may be right. Oh, that's
by no means I'm not a football expert. So
game.
So that's you. That's on you to know that stuff, not me.
You know what? I got to get back into the loop, man. You're right. I am the sports guy for the most part. I follow those things, but that's how busy I've been lately. But yes, thank you for letting me know that I need to really get back on my grind. That's we do like sports. We do like sports.
Well, I like basketball. You like sports.
Oh, that's true. Clarify. Yeah, you know what? It's so funny you say that. You're so right. I was about to speak. Anyway, you're so right, because it doesn't matter what the sport is. I love to watch the competition, but the irony, and I love to watch.
Is that why you like watching sports?
Yes. Okay. So with sports, I love watching I love to know that I'm watching something that clearly took a lot of preparation. So for me, it's just the idea that, nothing just meets like what you see is no does not this begin to describe what went into the preparation. When you see somebody operating at the highest level of a sport, I just respect that there was so much that went into it. So I try to study each sport when I'm watching it, just because I know that somebody put their blood, sweat, and tears into preparing, no matter what the sport is. So whether it's hockey, golf, polo. Well, I don't know why I just put those two together. I guess they're related somewhat.
Well, it's a sport,
Baseball.
yeah.
I was a pretty good baseball player back in the day.
Really, what position did you play?
I was a shortstop,
Oh,
and
wow.
second baseman. And actually, believe it or not, as a youth, I don't know if you could really call me a prospect then because I was so young, but I will say that folks would come up to when I would go to tournaments, all-star tournaments. I've had
They're
folks
coming to
come
watch
up
you?
to my I've had folks come up to my parents and say, "Hey, what's his name? We'll be watching out for him in the majors," which is I didn't hear that happening much. Most times folks
Right.
go,
That's cool.
watch the kids play. Ooh, especially when you're talking about all-stars, you got a lot of good players. But I had folks ask my parents that, and I think I just got distracted along the way. That's one thing I wish that I had a little bit more growing up was I wish I had been more goal oriented, because there was some things, specifically baseball, that I think I could have really done more with. Right. And I just really wasn't focused on it. I was passionate at one point and then got distracted and really didn't look back. Or when I did think about looking back, which was in my late teens, I was probably 19 going on 20, it's really too late, because baseball is one of those sports where it takes so much precision. You really can't afford to take a year off. Hence Tim Tebow, that's why he had so many critics when he was going to baseball, because folks understood what it took to be able to perform at that kind of level. You don't just
especially
take 3
it
years.
Doesn't matter how much your athletic talent
it doesn't matter exactly. You've got to develop that eye, the eye that you have to have. It really doesn't have mercy where you can have a year off. That eye has to be developed early on, year after year after year. And that's a message for all those folks out there with kids. If you want them to play baseball, if they're interested, keep them at it. I'm telling you, keep fall ball, spring ball.
Let's speaking of an athlete that kind of jumped into different sports, what's your take on Michael Jordan when he took that time away from the basketball to play baseball with Birmingham Barons?
Great segue. And speaking of my take, James, believe it or not, I was there when he hit his first home run.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Wow.
I was there. I was in the ballpark.
Wow. Jeez.
Matter of fact, I was Michael Jordan played right field, and I was right there. I was right on the grass, the little grassy knoll, and he came over signing autographs. Me kind of being a little shy, I stood back, but I got pretty close to him. It was a really
So you didn't get an autograph?
Oh, dang, I didn't get an autograph. I mean,
why your parents weren't there? If I was your parents,
they were, but they were in the stands. I was on the grass,
man.
and you know what? I mean, I'm gonna put this plug in, but you're talking to somebody who freshman year of college had the opportunity after he lost his scholarship to ask for it back, and I was too timid to do so. Listen, the Lord has brought me a long way.
Obviously, because you are not.
He's brought me a long
timid.
way.
I have to keep you under.
Yeah, man.
I have to keep you under lock and key sometimes.
But believe it or not, there's a lot that goes on in here, but I'm able to overcome it now. Now that I'm older and more mature. But back to Michael Jordan. So man, I mean, you can imagine the environment. It was I'm looking for a certain word. You probably know exactly what I'm looking for, but it was vibrant. You could just, when Michael Jordan was there, it was amazing, man, just being in that atmosphere. And so I remember
Was
my
it
dad used to.
intensity, elation, joy?
No, it's a very like informative word that folks use, almost slang to express like an environment when it's really upbeat and lively. I can't think of it. It might come to me.
Hyped?
No, 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 no. If it comes to me, I'll use it. And when I say it, you be like, oh, that word. But here's the background to that whole thing. Um, you may remember that when Michael Jordan hit that home run, he actually he offered some things to the person who had recorded it, because it wasn't like recorded, I think, by the Barons, the team he was playing
Oh,
for. So there were folks
uh-huh.
there that it was one guy in particular that had captured it. And I think he ended up being offered money. I think Michael Jordan was offering all kind of memorabilia signed and things. And I think finally they may have settled on the sum of money. I'm not sure. But my dad, here's the thing. He used to always record my games, and he used to record our family trips. And so this particular game, he brought his camera. You remember, this is the time,
Oh yeah,
we
the
didn't
big
have camera.
ones.
You had a big old camera, so you
Yep.
wouldn't just keep that in my car. The fact that my dad had it in his car is proof that he wanted to record the game. But my younger brother at the time, who was just a real handful, he's probably a couple years old, one or two. Um, because my dad had to hold him, he
He
decided to
couldn't
leave the
record
camera.
it.
Yes, and he did not record the game. And boy, you should have heard those conversations we had after the game. And that was before we knew Michael Jordan was going to be offering all kinds of
Yeah.
things in exchange for
Oh
that
yeah.
recording. But it would have been nice to have.
Yeah. It's just like my father-in-law Bob, we were at a local casino, and you know how the game, how when you play a slot machine game, it goes into like a special game mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so all it did was it showed three cards. So you pick whichever card you want to do. So he was thinking about picking the right card, the card on the right side of the screen, and he went to go to press it, but he's like, no, no.
Oh my
So he
goodness.
went and picked a different card. So when all three cards flipped over, the card on the right was for $1 million instantly.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. That's not what happened. I don't believe it.
That's what exactly what happened. It's like, if I had just picked the card on the right, if I
Wait a
just picked the
minute.
card on the right.
I know that he wore that for a long time, but I'm
Well,
just
you
trying
met
to.
Bob. You know how he
I
is.
know, but I'm just trying to figure out what casino was this and where do they do that?
Here in town.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not a gambling man, but
But this was also 3-4 years ago. So I don't
good
know.
grief!
It's
Wow.
one. It was, and it wasn't like one of those like local like So Hot or whatever the name of
Mhm.
that game is. I can't remember. It was like one of those like Willy Wonka or something like if you saw like the movies, they how they create slot machines based off of movies and stuff.
Mhm.
And you see that and you're just like, oh, I want to play that because you have that. Games are so fascinating to me in especially slot related games because they pick on something that you are popular. You're like, I don't
Mm.
care if I lose all my money. I just want to play all the little games that come along with it. And that's
I
what I
got
found myself doing one time. I just kept on playing, and I didn't stop, and I was like, yeah, it's only $20.
you. you know, Interestingly enough, when I was younger, I want to say I was about 10. My dad took the family to Dave and Buster's. You
Oh
know,
wow, yeah,
it was the one in Atlanta. Now Birmingham has one. I've got to
right.
go. I've got to go. Yeah. But and my dad gave me, I think, $50, told me to go play. And sadly, I spent the whole $50 at the little machine with the claw trying to
Oh
win
my
these
god,
watches. My dad was so mad at me. Yeah, I pretty much. I mean, but the thing is, they get you because
you
every
wanted to
time,
win. You
yeah,
wanted
and
the
you feel
prize.
like you're so close every time.
That's it. It's just like playing the games at the amusement park,
Yeah,
or at the fair. That they're rigged. They know
yeah.
there's a certain way you got to do it. Just what?
I used to be pretty good at those games. Yeah, exactly. Now I will say one time I went to Six Flags. I won two big stuffed animals for me and my girlfriend at the time, and this is back in high school, and it was like a basketball
Okay.
game. So that was one of the few times though. Anytime I played after that,
That doesn't
I,
surprise me that
yeah.
it was a basketball game.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you know me. I've got to play it, and I'm a pretty good shot. Especially my shot has actually gotten. I don't know if it's gotten better. I'm just more consistent now in my older
Okay.
age. My form, it's just more consistent. If I honestly, if I had the form and the strength that I do now,
Yeah.
when I was in high school,
Oh yeah.
I would have been
Easily.
I would have been pretty terrible. I would have been. I
Easily.
mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
I would have been pretty good. I think I was just, at that time I was probably 140, 50 pounds,
How much you
just
weigh
five
now?
seven. Huh. I'm 195.
Okay. How
Yeah,
tall are you now?
I'm 5'8", just shy of 5'8". So I give myself 5'8".
That's pretty big, bro.
I'm pretty big. I'm pretty solid. 5'8", 195. I'm a
Well,
pretty
I'm like
solid guy.
5'8", 160, 170. I feel pretty chubby. So
I'm pretty solid, man.
man. Yeah, some of that's muscle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I hope
Exactly. Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah.
For your
It's
sake.
muscle now.
No, you don't need there. You don't need to. No, you don't need to flex on this show. No way. Mm-mm.
Come on, show
No.
us your flex. Come
I
on.
don't have any arm muscle. I just got look. I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt. See, look at this.
Oh my goodness. You
There's
are
nothing
wearing a
there.
long sleeve shirt. So but anyway, man, when I used to go to the casinos here, I don't know if I ever even pulled a slot. One time I went with people that played, but I used to just go for the buffet. The buffet, the one, of course, the one in Wetumpka. I used to love that buffet, man. I
Oh
had a
man,
friend of mine
and
used to
that's
say,
not even a
"Hey,
proper buffet. You know, that's not even. It's not.
yeah,
So
I,
we got to go. You and
we,
me. I got to grab a group of guys. We need to go to like Mississippi or something like that.
yeah." So, because I have nothing to compare it to,
They
I used to just
wait. So is that
gorge
the only
myself.
one you've ever been to?
Just, that's the only one, only buffet,
Oh,
casino
sweet
buffet I've ever
God.
been to.
So you never been to Vegas?
Man, I've never been to Vegas. Can't believe it. I do want to go to Vegas, like not like a strong desire, but like with you, I would go to Vegas.
But it'd be a see. I would go to Vegas not for just the sake of gambling. I'd go
Mm,
for the sake of seeing people,
yeah,
eating
shows, things
food.
like that. Yeah,
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 yeah.
right,
Because I would lose everything within the first night.
right. And Vegas just it just seems like one of those places, like you said, to visit, to do things, but not to stay. Have you ever seen like the aerial view of Vegas? It's like nothing
No.
around it. It's
Well,
like
yeah,
depressing.
it's well. They also have water issues too out
Yeah,
in Vegas.
yeah.
So the water issue is a very serious thing. I've got good friends of the family. They lived here years ago, and then they moved out to Las Vegas, and I think yeah, they haven't been anywhere since. But so they've been a part of that community for a long time. So it's always good going out there to see them. I went to see my good friend Kay. Probably it was before we got married, so it was at least 2017, 2018.
Mm.
No. I'm sorry. Oh God, she would kill
Oh,
me. I got no. We got married in 2017. You were there.
yeah, I was there. It happened.
Oh
It
God.
happened.
So at least 2015, 2016. But how
Okay.
did this much time go by where we're now here in 2021 now doing our first podcast and we've known each other for this long?
Well, I mean that
And
is
you got
a
three kids.
I've got 3 kids. That's right, right. 3 kids later, you're right. And we're doing this podcast 10 years later. That's a message to everybody out there of how quickly life moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
really
how
does
tired you
move
can
fast.
get. Look how sleepy you are. You are so sleepy.
I feel good though. This is good. This is invigorating, this podcast. But yes, my
Well,
eyes, I'm sure
that's
say it all. But yeah.
that's the that's the purpose behind this. This is just again for whoever listens to this. This is the whole purpose of this is life.
Right.
It's about two guys, James and James, getting together, talking about stuff, bring other people on. We talk about some more stuff, and we just want everybody to have a good time and listen and enjoy it.
Exactly. That's it. No other, honestly, right? No, that I think that's the beauty of this. Like no other, no ulterior motives to that. Like
Mm-mm.
this is, we both have
No,
our own, individual, endeavors and things that we work on. This is literally just
and
for
day
fun.
jobs.
Right. Exactly. Day jobs, other
Yeah.
enterprises that we're working on. This literally is fun. It's about fun and interviewing people we know and just bringing everybody in on life. And from it, I guess I only hope and desire is that folks get something out of it, even if it's just enjoyment. We all get something out of it. So I know I
Well, I
have,
know I
man.
laugh at you.
Well, yeah, and I laugh at you all the time, but I don't need a podcast to do that.
Oh, okay.
No, but
But you
you're
you
pretty
were
funny.
at one point in time you did kind of do stand up comedy.
So I did. Interestingly enough, that's one of those things. I don't have a regret behind like not doing that more. Baseball is probably the only regret I have that I didn't pursue that. But yeah, stand up comedy. Um, I've gotten on stage at least 5 times.
How bad was it? Did you get heckled a lot?
Well, 3 of those times I was successful. I'll put it like that.
How
Two
many
of
times did you
those,
get on stage?
I've been on stage about 5 times now. 3 of those times, wait, I started off by saying that.
Okay, all
You
right,
must
go
have
ahead.
missed it. Yeah, 5 times. 3 of those times were like between 2000, I want to say 9 and 10, or 2009 and 12, somewhere in there. And then my last 2 times were twice in 2018. Now, speaking of how time flies, I can't believe it's been 3 years since I've been on stage. And actually, those last 2 times, which both were very successful, I actually performed for an open mic night on
Oh, good.
at the world renowned comedy club in Hoover outside of
Really?
Birmingham. Yes, that's where I was the Stardome.
Oh,
I mean, anybody knows comedy, all the big acts go through the Stardome. They do. That's one of the
yeah.
premier, it's been that way for probably 30 years, one of the premier comedy places in the United States. Matter of fact, Kevin Hart even has been quoted. He said that when he sold out the Stardome, he knew he had something good.
Mm,
So I wasn't on the main stage there. It's a side room they have for their open mics, but
mm.
it was an honor to perform at that venue to do
And
that.
again, too. Now, what year was this?
This is 2018.
Okay. So, and to kind of bring it all back into perspective, the comedy club industry has definitely been affected
Oh yeah.
by the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
It is one of those things where I do hope everything can kind of get back to semi-normal and people can kind of still kind of gather together because from my perspective, how it affects local businesses. And if it affects the local business, it affects the local community and affects the local community. It affects the local governments. Because if you can't spend money, then you can't have the money taxed. And if you can't have the money taxed, it can't go, it creates it creates a situation where we're in where, the government's having to print money to kind of try to keep the economy afloat and keep it stimulated
Right.
and keep it alive and active. So, fortunately, we live in an age and a generation where technology is what's, the ability to do this,
Right.
as much as it's detrimental
Mm-hmm.
for the in-person interactions which we actually need without this type of technology,
Yeah.
it probably would have collapsed
Right. It's
our
actually
country.
one time that we could look at it on the positive side of technology to a degree and say, wow,
Mm-hmm.
glad we had that. Because I know in times
Yeah.
past, I've looked at it like, man, this technology is devastating our society. But, like
Yeah.
just with all the access to things, especially for me being the teacher, for the young,
Yeah.
my students seeing everything they have access to
Yep.
and knowing how detrimental a lot of that is. But
Yeah.
like you said, in this case, it was very helpful in a lot of ways. In fact, speaking of comedy, I remember the comedy club, the Stardome. One of the things they were doing in the height of the pandemic was they were doing Zooms and Facebook Lives with comedians to try to engage folks. So it was free usually, and sometimes they did like fundraisers and things, but just anything to stay relevant during that time. So
well, and that's it. You have to, you know, that the whole, you know, obviously, if you're going to listen to this podcast for any length of time, you're probably going to hear me actually give a huge shout out to Joe Rogan, because I've devoured his content material. Like, I just love his format and how he just does his show as compared to other different podcasters. There's always a different format that I like seeing, but his is the one that kind of really kind of sucked me in, and I couldn't understand why. But then, you know, I did understand why I do like it so much. But he is a comedian himself. He has some specials on Netflix and things like that.
Yeah, I was surprised.
And no, he's funny. He's a pretty funny guy. So, you know, most people probably know him from like UFC or Fear Factor, or I think the show was called News Radio, but he's actually a stand-up comedian. So he is very supportive of the comedy culture and the industry itself. And what got him into comedy was he actually was at one point in time, and I'm going off of memory. I'm not going off of actual things that I'm looking at on the screen. He was competitive in Taekwondo. And so when he transitioned out of that into comedy. And so, but you know, I respect anybody that does anything where you have to get up on a stage in front of people, large number of people, and present your material. Because we all had that most of us had a public speaking class either in high school or in college, where you gotta get up in front of a lot of people and talk, and you're just like, the fear, just like, say stuff. I respect anybody that can do that.
and you know what's interesting about that, James? You know, I've kind of had a vast array of types of, you know, speaking in front of people. Being that I do the motivational stuff pretty frequently. And then I've been a, you know, stage actor, done some film, but
and
comparing
at one point in time,
comparing three things: speaking, like motivational speaking, doing plays, and then stand-up comedy. Although I've grown more comfortable with stand-up comedy, I'm speaking of, you know, a few years ago, I was more comfortable with it. I will still say for me, that was the most challenging. And it was because, you know, you're trying to be funny, right? And so with the motivational speaking, you're getting up with your motive is to, you know, to motivate, but it's your material, and there's not necessarily a bar or a standard by which you're measured. You know, similarly for acting, you know, you're in theater, you're playing a role, so you kind of hide behind that veneer. But with stand-up comedy, you're preparing something deep from in your soul that folks are going to measure on the bar of, you know, is this funny or not? You know, just, you know, it's almost like there is this there's a subjective funny to the individual, but then there's this objective of funny, and that's measured by how well you can just deliver and believe in yourself. And so for me, that's been the most challenging art, you know, as far as speaking on stage for me. So,
but here's something I bet that you realize inherently, that what makes comedy so challenging, there's direct feedback instantly. Like instantly. Like you get up there and motivational speak, and everybody knows, like, this person's a motivational speaker. He is going to be here, you know, talking about some ideology that he wants to pitch to us and all that. So, you know, you're there to listen. So, and acting, you know, they're showing this story. So, you know, what is this guy going to do? Comedy, it's like it's instant feedback. That's why
Yeah, it
that's where the
is.
fear factor is so much higher because
Yes.
instantly they're going to
Yes.
say you suck. And if they've been
It's the
drinking a
worst.
lot too,
It's the
and they don't
worst.
have good crowd control,
Yeah.
it's
You
gonna
gotta
get
be
out. It's
funny.
gonna get wild fast.
You gotta be funny, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. You're so right. And
but
you
see,
know,
based off of what you were saying, uh, you've been doing this like pretty much your most of your life. You think
yeah.
about it as a teacher, as a youth pastor. Is that right?
Yeah, well, minister at times,
Minister, yeah,
right, right. Yeah.
minister, as an actor, as shout out to Real Babies of Montgomery.
Stop. Stop that. That's nobody needs to know.
uh, as a comedian, as a motivational speaker,
Let me,
as speaking at like various public functions.
right.
You've been doing
MC.
this,
Right.
yeah, as
Yeah.
master of ceremonies. I mean, you've been doing it for like at least 10, 20 years
Right.
in the capacity of getting in front of people and just speaking. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you didn't have a gift for it, you wouldn't, you would probably have ran from it by now,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Because
either that
yeah.
you've just grown into a stronger type of, you've built up some resilience over the years. Me
Exactly.
by nature, I'm actually very introverted. I can't, I remember when I was on the cross country team, uh and for people that don't know what cross country is, it is a sport in which you run for miles from start to finish over to terrain that can be hilly, and there could be rain, and you just run for a distance. And that's what cross country is, running. Yes.
Thank you.
So, you know, uh, when I was in high school, our cross country team, I think it had started maybe a couple years before. So it hadn't yet gained the prominence that it has now. Uh, Now they've won a few state championships. Their track team is good too. But I remember they said, well, Jimmy, we need you to, talk about the meet that's coming up on Saturday. And I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, you need you to tell about all you have to do is you just, when you get up to the mic, you just tell them we have a meet on Saturday. So I have to get up in front of the whole upper school assembly. So upper school is from 9th to 12th. And get up there. And I would just remember the nervousness. I'm like, yeah, we've got to meet this Saturday. It's at Mountain Brook. I hope y'all can make it. And then I guess it must be some kind of blessing or favor or something, because I didn't get booed off the stage. I didn't get, everybody cheered. So I don't know if they were cheering for me or they cheering because it was so funny. I don't know, but they cheered and I just got off of there, get out of there as quick as I possibly could. So,
cheer, they cheered for the moment. See, whoever asked you to do that, they were setting you up for success. They knew there was nothing you could say that was going to turn people off from the moment. It's kind of like that scene from Forrest Gump where
okay,
a
all right,
guy
here we go.
unplugs the mic and nobody hears anything, but after the guy says Gump, everybody's just like, yeah, Gump. So yeah, I kind of feel like it was like that. But no, you
Oh,
probably
okay.
did pretty well. But it's interesting how um different experiences shape us, because growing up, I struggle with social anxiety. I think I'm probably I won't call myself an introvert, but there are times I have tendencies to be one, and then I have learned when it's showtime to turn it off, because I do like to be by my lonesome a lot. But I can remember in high
Well, that's
school.
really hard to do with a wife and 3 kids.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's preparation. Exactly. That kind of. So, but I remember in high school, a teacher of mine, she was my public speaking teacher, and at this time, I still got so nervous when I used to be. We were probably similar, and I know when I had to stand up and just introduce myself, like especially when I didn't know people, say my name, that kind of thing. I used to get so nervous. I used to sweat and shake, and so anyway, my public speaking
Well, I didn't
teacher
do
though,
that.
huh?
I didn't do that.
Oh wow. So
Wow.
anyway, it's interesting because a lot of times, we in our weaknesses, that's many times where the Lord calls us to operate in it. So I definitely had terrible social anxiety, but in high school, my public speaking teacher, after a speech one time, she said, "You have a great orator's voice," and that
Hmm.
really spoke to me, and it encouraged me, and that stuck with me kind of throughout college
So
and throughout my
that's why
life.
you do that sometimes. Sometimes you'll get this tone,
Uh-huh.
this like this oration type tone where you're
Yeah.
like kind of it, it comes across to me as like overacting sometimes.
That's
I'm
funny.
gonna have to talk to that teacher of yours.
That's funny, but
He really took to it.
right. And right. And she actually that really just helped me because
Right.
I was able to say, I'm a speaker, because that spoke to that. But ironically, when I went to college, as part of my course curriculum, public speaking, I think, was required of all students coming into the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely would be considered a liberal arts style school, even though I did engineering. And it was I was supposed to take it my freshman year, but I was
Right.
still so nervous with
Yeah.
my social anxiety. I put it off. Can't believe it, to like my last semester. That so I'm painting a picture of still how
Yeah.
hesitant, how reluctant I was to speak
Right.
in front of people.
So
But
many years later. Yeah.
right. So through opportunity after opportunity, that I really feel like God God did push me into. That's what developed me. But if I was relying upon myself and my own inclination, uh, probably would not have taken a lot of opportunities to
Right.
develop my abilities, speak in front of people.
And ultimately, too, I had to take a public speaking class. I believe it was, well, my major at the time was business administration. I have no idea what business administration was at the time. Years later, I would find out that business administration is also known as management.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to all you freshman college kids that are having an issue with choosing a major and you're going into the field of business, and if you choose business administration, if they use that verbiage, it's also known as management.
Man, that's
So
a
just
good
so you
nugget
know,
there, for real.
yeah.
Good
Another
nugget.
nugget too, if you ever have applying for a job and it's a custodian and you don't know what that is and you don't want to look it up on Google or a dictionary, it's also known as a janitor. So my first job
Thank you,
was as a
James.
janitor.
Man, we're gonna have to start a whole new segment, man, for you just give us these words of wisdom about jobs, man,
Well, people
occupations.
just don't know what they're getting into until they're in it. So, I
That's
was
true.
taking management. I had to take his public speaking class, and it was terrible. I hated it. It was awful. But going back to how important speaking and interacting is, if you think about it, for the younger generations, they do need to be social creatures
Yeah.
because even if you get to the place where you own your own business, there's a social interaction piece.
Mm-hmm.
There's things called
Right.
social contracts. When
Right.
you
Yeah.
talk to somebody, assuming you're talking in the same language, you create this bond. So you have to be able to communicate with others. Communication is it's probably one of the key pillars of survival. If you
Right.
cannot have the ability to speak to others, like more than one, then you can't create your network. And
Right.
you go into a work environment. We've got a new guy that's come on board, just fresh out of college. And for me being now, I guess I would consider myself more of a veteran of where I work at. You know, it fascinates me watching him grow and develop and create these social interactions within my peer group, learning how to navigate communicating with them and appropriate styles of communication. And again, it goes back to, yes, the technology is good to have, but we also have to be able to do it face to face interacting. A lot of his interaction, not all of it, but I would say some of it is more geared towards an online environment versus face to face environment. That's his comfort zone, is more online versus face to face. But he's good. He's good at it. But if you didn't have this technology, you'd be forced to do this face to face all the time.
Right.
And those are things that we have to think about with our children.
Right. And
Less
bro,
screen time, more face time.
exactly. Um, well, bro, man, this has been an excellent first session.
I
I hear
told you it
the
was going to be good.
it's been good. I hear I'm being summoned right now, and I'm being summoned by the screams of my children. So, man, this has been awesome. Great first episode. Looking forward to many more.
Yep.
It's fun to co-host with you, man.
Yeah. Well, this is our show together.
All right, bro. Well, man, you have a great rest of your day, and we will we'll talk. All right, bro. All right, man.
Later.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.